Thinko La Malcha, by KSO Media and Documentation Cell, issue number 36. Tuesday, October 17, 2023. A brief account of the Anglo Kuki War, 1917 to 1919. More than 100 years ago, when other parts of India was busy collecting combatants, non-combatants, laborers, funds and materials for the First World War, the Kukis of northeastern frontier of India declared war against the King Emperor. This war was known in history as the Anglo Kuki War, locally, Sapgal, Zogal, Thadagal, etc. Kukis had some serious grievances against the British. They were against colonial system of house tax, forced labor, disarmament and sedentarization program, and finally to the forced labor conscription for the Great War, that seriously threatened their independent existence. This resistance to British rule by the Kukis was one of the fiercest anti-colonial wars fought anywhere in India, lasting well over 2 years and over an area of 6,000 square miles. The British troops consisted of 6,234 combatants, 696 non-combatants, 7,650 carriers, etc. The brutal scorched earth military tactics of the British led to the burning of 126 Kuki villages to the ground, complete destruction of their properties, food grains and livestock, leading to several hundred deaths of the Kukis. The war also took a heavy toll of 550 British military officers, sepoys and coolies' death along with 142 wounded. Kukis had been punished with communal penal labor after the war for 5 years. The Kukis, however, gained a glorifying name as one of the martial race of our country from the British for their courage and skills during the war. However, the significance of this war and the sacrifices of the Kuki community during the first half of 20th century in one of the biggest uprisings against the British have largely been missing from mainstream discussions till date. It is pertinent to recognize the contribution of tribals and marginal communities during the freedom struggle, with an aim to integrate the nation by integrating its history of resistance against the colonial rule. The truth about Anglo Kuki War, 1917 to 1919. 1. It was one of the best documented events among tribal rebellions against colonialism. Voluminous number of archival records are available for public in the Assam State Archives in Dispur, National Archives of India in New Delhi, the British Library in London, the Manipur State Archives in Imphal, and the Manipur Secretariat Library, Imphal. 2. If almost 2-year-long armed resistance is not a war, then what is war? English dictionary meaning of war is generic. It could be between two sovereign states, between state and non-state, between groups, between business houses, between individuals and so on. Kukis used war. A. First, in line with the commonsensical dictionary meaning of the term which we all are often used to doing, such as the war on terror, war on drug, war on narco-terrorism, and so on. War does not necessarily mean conflict between two sovereign states. It is a complete misconception. B. Second, on specific grounds, the so-called Kuki rebellion by the colonials was nothing but a war in the perspective of the colonized people. Métis called it Kongjai Lal. Kongjai is Métis term for Kuki, Lal/Lan means war in Métis, Thadas called it Thadagal, war, the Zos called it Zogal, war, etc. Lal/Lan, Gal, Ral, etc. are native terms for war. To call their war as no war or otherwise is only to demean and distort their history. It is a war for valid colonial reasons as well. The British government of India, GOI, considered the Kuki rebellion as war against the King Emperor. The Chief Commissioner of Assam considered the Kuki rebels as enemies in arms, rejecting the idea of murderer. The GOI considered the Kuki rising as acts of barbarous warfare than of ordinary murder. All those captured or surrendered rebels were not kept in Imphal jail but in a cordon temporary makeshift nearby it, named prison of war. None of them were tried under any criminal law of India or Manipur. While all of them were released after the suppression of the rising, 14 of their leaders, including Chingakem Sanakayaba, were taken to Kohima and trialed there. 14 of their leaders were trialed under the Bengal Regulation 3 of 1818, which is not a criminal law but known as State Prisoners Regulation, which stipulated that for reasons of state individual can be put under restraint against whom there may not be sufficient ground to institute any judicial proceeding or when such proceeding may not be adapted to the nature of the case, or may for other reasons be advisable or improper. 9 chiefs of the Kukis were put under restraint at Sadiya in Upper Assam. 3 of them, who were not chief, were put in a jail in Dibrugarh. 9 of Kuki leaders in Burma side were trialed under Chin Hills Regulation 1896 and accordingly keep under restraint in Tongyai in Burma. According to British law, those what they considered criminals and murderers were usually hanged to death. Why the Kuki leaders were not hanged if they are murderers and criminals? No one was hanged, they were all treated as political prisoners, state prisoners. The Anglo Kuki War was also officially accepted as, what certain officer called it, a humble part of the Great War, First World War. Accordingly, All those combatants and non-combatants, including laborers, camp followers, etc., were awarded the two Great War Medals, 1, the British War Medal 1914-1919, and 2, the Victory Medal. The operation was paid out of the war fund. Coolies from Naga Hills for France were, for instance, paid emoluments and gratuities as fixed for the France War Theatre. If it was not a war, how could the soldiers, officers, camp followers, and coolies all receive the war medals and paid out of the war fund? The military operations against the Kuki Rising were also officially known as Kuki Operations or Kuki Punitive Measures. The British Parliament used the term Kuki Hills Operations. 3. Kukis have every right to name their war just as everyone has. Anglo Kuki War is not only the term adopted by the Kuki scholars, it was the term adopted by the Kuki Inpi, the apex socio-cultural body of the Kukis. We don't mind when you use the colonial term Kuki Rebellion and your own term Anglo-Manipur War, it is your business. Please do not bother us when we use our own name for our history, it is our business. 4. Besides, AKW was not a war against any community, it was a war against the British colonialism. Please do not communalize it. The Kukis are not up against Manipuris but only against the Sahebs and their subordinates, W.A. Cosgrave, political agent in Manipur. The Kukis are only out against Sarkari people and are not indulging in any indiscriminate headhunting orgies, W.A. Cosgrave, political agent in Manipur. 5. Besides, Kukis were not fighting against Manipur Maharaja or Manipur Kingdom, they were fighting against the British and the Briti. Facts and figures of the Anglo Kuki War 1917 to 1919. A centennial of the war, 1917 to 2017. The flames of freedom movement spread, from Naga Hills in the north to Chin Hills in the south and from North Kachar Hills in the west to Samra Tract and Chindwin Valley in the east. Officially, more than 6,000 square miles. Period of active warfare and counter-operations, October 1917, when active war preparation begins after Mumbai was burned on October 17, to May 1919. Period of continuous resistance, March 1917, when opposition to labor recruitment was first declared at Asehan, to May 1919, when the leading Kuki chiefs were incarcerated under restraint. Troops deployed, 6,234 combatants, 696 non-combatants, of combined forces of Assam and Burma military police. Transport coolies deployed, 7,650 transport coolies, in the second phase of operations. Money spent by government, Rs. 28,00000/ rupees 28 lakh. Casualties on government troops, 60 dead, including 1 British officer, 142 wounded, including 3 British officers, 97 dead due to diseases. Casualties on transport coolies, 7 killed by Kukis, 393 died of diseases. Casualties on Kuki side, official estimate 120 killed in fighting, much less from Kuki estimate. Total numbers of Kuki villages burnt down, 126 villages. Total numbers of village deserted or declared barren, 16 villages. Total villages mercilessly punished and coerced to surrender, 140 villages. Destruction of properties, all food grains, granaries, livestock, pig, dog, fowls, etc., were systematically destroyed, 576 Mithans killed. Aftermath of the rising. War reparation imposed, Rs. 1,75,000/ partly paid in money, partly paid in labor in construction works. Penal labor, to the whole community, for 5 years. Sedentarization program, many Kuki villages uprooted from ancestral villages to grouping centers. Administration of the hills, 3 subdivisions established in Manipur Hills, Samra Tract was finally annexed to regular administration. Why it was a people's war. The whole population, men, women, aged participated. All clans/tribes of the Kukis participated. Under the system the chiefs took decision, but the whole population joined hands to fight the British, preparing fortifications, stockade, pounding gunpowder, gathering provisions, etc. Role of men, fighting, defending, etc. Role of women, supplying provisions, pounding gunpowder, looking after the aged and children. Role of aged people, advisors and repairing of guns, etc. Phases of Anglo Kuki War. From colonial point of view, it was divided into 5 phases. 1. April to December 1917, during which the trouble was brewing. 2. December 1917 to mid-April 1918, during which the first attempt at the suppression of the rebellion was made. 3. April to October 1918, during which the Kukis raided and harried loyal tribesmen and interrupted traffic. 4. November 1918 to April 1919, when operations under military direction were in progress and the rebels were systematically attacked and disarmed. 5. The stage of punishment and reconstruction. The Anglo Kuki War 1917 to 1919 can be divided into 3 broad phases. 1. Non-cooperation and passive resistance, March to October 1917. 2. Active armed resistance, October 1917 to Mach 1919. 3. Trial and tribulation, April 1919 onward. I. Non-cooperation and passive resistance, March to October 1917. In March and April 1917, several meetings of Kuki chiefs held. The first was at Asehan where Pu Chengjapeo killed a Mathin and sent round the flesh to other Kukis, inciting them to swear an oath, sealed by eating the flesh, not to go to France. It was followed by a series of meetings, Chasad, Jampi, etc., where they have taken an oath after killing a Mathin, that none of them would go to France or send any of their people there. The Kuki chiefs were invited to meet the political agent at Impal, but they refused and non-cooperation with labor recruitment was taken. Pu Chengjapeo went to Impal in May, Pu Ngulkup met PA at Kukching in July, Pu Patch went to Impal in early August, were arrested but escaped later. Most Kuki chiefs decided not to go to Impal, Pu Ngulkup ordered that no Kuki should go to Impal until the end of December. Kuki chiefs, 30 to 40, of Western Hills met PA at Octon on October 10, 1917, the first and last roundtable conference. They told him they could not give any men for France. They said if they had to die they preferred to die in their own country and would be prepared to meet force with force. The PA told them he will convene another meeting. But 2 days after he returned from Octon, the PA took 50 rifles to Mumbai, Lampi, and burnt down on October 17, 1917. This was a surprise to the Kukis. This violent action was to Kukis a breach of trust. This provocative action ended the phase of non-cooperation and passive resistance. It was the watershed in the course of Anglo Kuki War which the next phase would tell. The burning of Mumbai invited 2 massive reactions. It invited the anger of government who ordered Manipur authority. No further punitive measures are to be taken without the previous sanction of the local administration. No punitive expedition that can by any possibility lead to a requisition for military assistance will be undertaken without the previous sanction of GOI. No further requisitions for drafts for the Labour Corps should be made unless the political agent is satisfied that they are not likely to provoke opposition. It also provoked the Kukis, ended the phase of peaceful negotiation and inaugurated a new phase of armed resistance. The Chief Commissioner of Assam later reported that they, Kukis, were more sinned against than sinning. 2. Active armed resistance, October 1917 to March 1919. This phase can be further subdivided into 3. 1. War preparation, October to December 1917. 2. The Winter War of 1917 to 1918, December 1917 to April 1918. 3. Kuki Monsoon, May to November 1918. 4. The Final Showdown, November 1918 to March 1919. War preparation, October to December 1917. The burning of Mumbai provoked the Kukis, ended the phase of peaceful negotiation. After the burning of Mumbai, reports from all sides show complete overturning of the situation. Massive war preparation started. The war councils, Sathan Salungne or Hansane, held. Pu Ngulkup closed his country to British and vowed to shot them. Pu Kutanthang also declared war and informed Pu Patch. Pu Tintong also declared war and went to Henglep. Meeting was also held at Ukka, resolved to resist forcibly the British. All of them communicated their decision to Pu Patch, chief of Chasad, who finally called a war council at Chasad at the end of November. 150 Kuki chiefs from India and Burma participated. The war council resolved not to obey any orders or summons from government and to fight if government tried to enforce orders. To commemorate Chasad war conclave, a song was composed. Phai Chung Nung Kol Kimbali, Kalmang Token, Ikal Lang Phai Thin Isam Gom Mi, Phai Thin Sem Gom, Lepan Bang Kitho Tin, Nam Cham Kot Invabang Pau Tadite. Translation. From all around the valley of Manipur, from beyond the horizon of Burma, the valley storm brought us together. The valley storm had brought us together. Let us stack together, stand together, like the folded clothes, like the birds, let us speak, fight, as one free nation. Lang Phai Ti means, literally a strong wind, the British. Not only poetical, it was also magical. Theme, unity, fraternity. After war council, Pu Patch sent bullets to different parts of Kuki Hills with an order to resist forcibly any attempt to impress coolies or to burn villages by government forces. Massive war preparation followed in different part of Kuki Hills after the Chasad War conclave. The Winter War of 1917 to 1918. The first armed encounter or the first bullet was expended on the British on December 28, 1917 at the foothills of Tangjing against the British military column of 150 strong. After this, there was incessant sniping and attacks along the routes until they withdrew in the valley on January 7, 1918. Another military column sent against Mumbai Kukis was repulsed. 4 military columns were then sent against Mumbai in later January 1918, from Sagunu, along Tamu Road, from Kabah Valley and from Chin Hills. It was repulsed with 11 dead. New columns sent after refit. 1 column each sent to Ukkabihyang, Henlepkucher Road, Jampi area, Asehan area, and Samra Tract, 2 columns against Hasads. The Kuki monsoon, May to November 1918. Until May no attack was made on other tribes and villages who did not take part in the war. But during the first phase it was known who helped the British and worked against the Kukis. Many of these friendly villages have been attacked during the reigns of 1918. The official account is, 19 villages burnt, 193 persons killed, 21 missing. Official reasons given, revenge, for refusing to help, known to be helping the British against them. Due to these outrages, the policy of clemency was mooted by GOI, huge debate in officialdom B/W murder and barbarous warfare. Some chiefs surrendered after they were promised that their life will be spare. Asehan, Jampi and Tengnupal area chiefs surrendered. But most of the powerful chiefs asked for complete pardon or war. The second phase of operations were against these chiefs. The final showdown, November 1918 to March 1919. The second phase of operations was put under military command. The whole Kuki country was divided in 5 areas. Each area enclosed with military posts at the range of 12 miles. Each area was provided with some mobile/flying columns who pursued the Kukis from pillar to post, burnt down their villages, livestock, and properties, prevent from rebuilding their village and their cultivation. Those captured were put in concentration camp. Once the whole system of survival was broken, Kukis finally surrendered to the British.